everybody. We are here today with Erica Leonor. Erica, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to get into this podcast with you. If you'd like to start, actually just introduce yourself, what you do.
So I'm Erica Leonor. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah area. I'm married to my husband from the Dominican Republic, so I just call him my Latin lover. And we've got a 3-year-old, and she's just my best friend. We have so much fun with her. I love to hang out with her. So first and foremost, the biggest thing I'm proud of in my life is being a mom. So the great thing about that is you get to be creative of how to balance all the things, which I know we'll talk about, but she is my joy. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. As you can see, all my swords and weapons behind me. Don't break into my house, but we definitely have fun with all of these weapons. I just got a couple new ones for Christmas that are not yet on the wall. So anyway, we can talk nerdy stuff. We can talk a lot of things today, and I'm really excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love the swords. I'm excited to see the new ones. So I'll just start off with some questions. So you work at GoodLeap. Can you tell us about your journey into the home services industry and how you ended up there?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the kind of girl that my dad, bless his heart, he did everything growing up, which means I never had to do much in regards to taking care of a house. I was more like the domestic things, right? Cooking, cleaning, but my dad was like the traditional, like I'll take care of the water heaters and the HVAC and, that kind of stuff. And so I didn't really know much about the industry for sure. Like, I'm not going to say this was me, but I probably would have said HVAC instead of HVAC. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't something that was part of my life. And I didn't know things about plumbing. I didn't know that the trades was even an opportunity to really get into it. My dad just did stuff. I didn't know it was a job. And so when I got involved in the industry, it just really opened my eyes to just this whole world of, the different parts that make up HVAC, plumbing, electrical, all the blue collar jobs. And you have manufacturing, distribution, you have supply chain, you've got contractors, technicians, but then you have sales and customer service. And there's just so many moving parts and there's so many opportunities, and it can be a very lucrative industry as well. And so it was just really fun to be introduced to this world. It's been probably about almost 10 years, I think, that I've been in the trades, and I absolutely love it. And so how I ended up at GoodLeap was I had started my own company to do customer service training, which I love. I have a great program for that. And then I had a couple of friends that were at GoodLeap that they said, "Hey, Erica, you should come join us." And I was like, well, I just had my baby. Like, I wasn't ready to just jump back into work yet. And bless their hearts, they were so awesome to me. Like, they said, "Okay, let us know when you're ready." And they checked in with me every single month and like, "You ready?" And it's like, "No, not yet." The next month, like for 8 months, I got a phone call from my friends at GoodLeap saying, "When are you ready?" And so 8 months later, I was like, okay, I'm ready. But it just meant a lot to me. Like, it said a lot about who they were and the culture that this company has of, like, they wanted me, but they were willing to wait for me. So that was the first thing of like why I joined the team, is just because I saw that kind of camaraderie even before I was hired. And so then at GoodLeap, I work with people on financing. I get to do a lot of speaking and training and traveling around to different trade shows and events, which Pantheon, we saw each other there. So that was a lot of words, but that's a little bit of where I'm at today. So
that says a lot about the company, that they're like, "Okay, we want you and we'll wait for you." And it says a lot about you as well. And it's too funny. It sounds so familiar. The HVAC, the HVAC thing. Like, I also kind of fell into this industry and I'm obsessed with it. Like, so we work with you for a lot of our financing with our customers or our clients. What are some of the common misconceptions that, either contractors or homeowners have about the financing, and how do you address those in your work?
Yeah. So when you look at financing companies, there's a lot of options out there. And what I will say specifically, once again, I'm going to go back to our team at GoodLeap of just why I admire so much the people here is I know the reps that take care of Sela, actually, they are phenomenal. Like they will break their backs for you, but that's the kind of people they are. And so that's the kind of people that Good Leap has attracted to them. And every single person that I work with on this team does that for whoever they are working with. And so that's one of the biggest things that I want people to know is, you know, when you work with Good Leap, if for whatever reason, like you don't get that experience, like tell us, because we pride ourselves in being that kind of a rep, being that kind of support, and being a partner to people, you know. And partnership is two ways too. It's like, hey, we're going to do all this for you guys, but in return, like we want you guys to do this for us. And then that really just makes it where it's not a transaction, like give me your money or anything like that. It really builds those relationships strong. And so, you know, when people have like this financing misconception of, well, I just want to go with someone who's the cheapest, or, oh, I want to go with someone because their name is all over the world or whatever, like that's fine, I get it. But really take into account, like, are you working with people that you trust? And of course, you know, you want to know, like, and trust people, but do you trust them? Like, do you trust them to have your back? And those other things that come into play, like, you know, they all fall under that umbrella of trust. And so, you know, if you have a financing partner that you trust, keep working with them. You know what I mean? And give them the chance to prove that to you. And so anyway, that's kind of what I would say there. That's what we try to do at Good Leap.
Yeah, and that really does shine through. I mean, we have a great relationship with your company, Joyce, Kim, everybody. Like it's fantastic. We love them. So
and they love
again,
you too. Like it's fun. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Yeah, super cool to partner with that company. So yeah, so things do change pretty quickly in this industry and in the financial world and everything. How do you stay informed about the latest trends and developments in home services?
Yeah, this is going to be unique for everybody, right? Like my particular role and what I get to do is I'm out there a lot where a lot of people are. And so there's constant conversations. There's a lot of great newsletters and publications out there as well that, you know, you can get industry trends on and, you know, read stuff digitally, but a lot of it comes in the conversations you have with people. And I've been very intentional about trying to meet people that I can join their webinars or learn from, and, you know, just become the kind of resource for them. And they can be that for me, where we can talk about what's changing, talk about what's needed. And so for me, it is very intentional about I want to meet the people and I want to have conversations with people. And the digital stuff is great, but you can't replace like when you get together in person. So like when you guys went to Pantheon or for any other events, like you're learning in person from people, but then you're also having side conversations with people and talking, and what do you do here? What do you do here? What's changing here? And oh, there's a new code here. I didn't know about that. Or ServiceTitan has a new program here. What? You know what I mean? Like there's all these things that happen when you talk to people, and that's how you learn and grow. So I don't know, do you guys see the same thing? Like when you're in person, it changes?
100%. Don't get me wrong, technology is great, but there really is no beating that in-person contact and communication. Because when you're face to face with someone, like it's just, again, easier to connect with someone and bounce ideas off of each other.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's where you get the most like honest and truthful and pertinent information.
This is not in writing. No, just kidding.
Exactly. Yeah, people will say out loud what they might not want to put, pen to paper about.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a lot of networking. So, how did you prioritize networking within the bounds or outside of the bounds of just your professional life and these different events and things?
Yeah. So some of this is like personally, I almost always have a coach, like somebody that I'm working with that has a network. So I'm joining groups and accountability calls, I'm joining the programs. And so you get involved in just like, you know, community Facebook groups on Facebook or whatever, you know, and that like lets you meet people and learn from people that way. And even though they're digital, it is a way to have and grow your network. And so it comes a point where it's like you post something or you have a question or you need help, you know, you have a community there for you. And so digitally wise, like in personally, like I always have somebody that I'm working with there that has also an audience. And a lot of that times that's outside of the trades, but I'm really like, I'm a personal development junkie. Like I will talk goals and habits and like New Year's resolutions, Jaslyn, all day long. Like that. I love that. But, industry speaking wise, I think for sure we want to look at what's out there and say, like, I want to be a part of that program, or I want to meet people that are going to this. And so that's one of the reasons why I joined in with Women in HVAC, is because I wanted to meet other women. Like I wanted to network and learn from and grow with other women. And so when I got involved there were some very specific people that I'm so grateful for, who kind of brought me under their wing and introduced me to people, and, eventually led to a position on the board. And like, I'll be forever grateful for those friendships. And then, for me, I try to do that for other people. Like, hey, let me introduce you to other people who can introduce you to other people. And I think we just have to have that mentality of, we can't be selfish with our relationships. We need to share with people, because it's powerful.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm part of some of the Facebook groups, but I'm always so shy about interacting with everybody. So that's a big lesson, that it's, we're all here for each other.
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, I mean, you also have traveled extensively for, training and speaking and different conventions and things like that. What's been one of the most impactful lessons that you've learned from interacting with other business owners and their teams?
It's so interesting to see that, with companies that have, they're a small $1 million shop to the big Goliaths, like Sela and stuff like that, there are still very similar things, just on different scales, that everybody needs help with, right? Like, no matter what kind of company you go to, everybody is always needing help with growth and development. Always. Like, how can we get better at this? Like, how can we manage our systems and our processes? How can we manage our customer service? How can we manage our sales? Like, how can we grow and get better at this? And so regardless of the size of a company, like, that is a common denominator for everyone, is how do we get better? And I think it's so powerful to see when business owners invest in their people and understand, like, yeah, this is for sure a time and money investment, but how you help that person get a little bit better, like, is going to pay off hugely in the long run, for sure. And we know this, like, not everybody stays at companies. People move, people have new chapters. And I just think that it's something important to remember, that even if we're a chapter in somebody's lives, make it a good chapter and don't have any regrets about that chapter, and just be at peace with it, and I know that's hard, because you like train someone, they get super good, and like you have a technician, and the next thing you know, they go out and start their own business, and you're like, oh my gosh, but you are number one salesperson. Or you guys know what that's like, I'm sure, like you've seen it. But once again, they're ready for that next level. Not everybody has the entrepreneurial spirit, but some people do, just like maybe we did. And so I think that's just one of the things, is be the best chapter for somebody in their lives, for whatever, however long that chapter is, and make it a good one.
I 100% agree. I forget who it was. There was a speaker at Pantheon that said something similar to what you said. And you said it a lot more eloquently than I will, but I believe they said that no matter what, like, you can have a technician or an office employee or anyone at your company, and they could be there for 5, 10 years, but like they'll like learning and coaching and everything like that, like the mentorship, like it doesn't stop, and you should want to like continue to better your employees, and if they ask for different trainings or everything, to give them everything they need to succeed. So I completely agree with everything you said. And then I am gonna switch gears a little bit. So for our listeners, Erica spent 5 years on Women in HVACR's board and still plays an active role in their organization. Erica, can you talk about that role in WHVACR and the work you're doing to support and advance women in this field?
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, let's talk about networking, education, mentoring, all those pillars of women in HVAC, right? And you guys know this too, like having a women's group at Sela, like having that connection. And I heard this quote one time where I mean, it had to do with marriage, but it said something along the lines of the best thing a husband can do is let his wife go out with her girlfriends. Like having that girl time, go out to lunch once a month. Like, don't worry about it. Like, just let her have that time with her girlfriends. And I think that is true in a lot of ways because we need each other. Like girls, we got to talk. And there's two types of thinkers. You have people who think before they talk, and you have people talk so they know what they think. And I'm one of those people where a lot of times I have to talk it out so that I'm like, actually, no, I don't think that. I think this. Where my husband is the kind of person where like he thinks and he's like, wait, I processed it first, but I'm a talk to process. Does that make sense?
It does.
And I think a lot of girls are like that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like we talk to process? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yes. I've never heard anybody say that, but that's me. That's me. Cause I'll talk and then I change my mind as I talk, or like I just make up my mind as I talk. But yeah, some people it's beyond me, but they'll sit and they'll be quiet for a minute and then and then speak out loud. It's so funny that you said it like that.
I'm the same exact way. Like I've been like this for as far as I can remember. And then I just realized I love now to watch the other person I'm communicating with and kind of watch their reactions as I'm going through this whole like thought process out loud. And then they're like, wait, so we are doing this? Yeah, we're doing this now. This is what I want. I'm like, okay, cool.
I just like to talk. I'll say anything.
It helps us make the decision, and it helps us decide what we want to do or what we want to think. And I don't know, Caitlin, are you the same way? I mean, we've got all of us. Are you a think before you talk or a process?
I'm a think before I talk. I'm opposite.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll sit there, I'll think about it, and I'll spit out what I think is true. You will not hear me speak before I know that.
There's always one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we need people like you, Caitlin, who will listen to us. That's what we need. We need people who are like, let me just talk to you. And then we're like, okay, I processed, I'm good. So
yeah, I'm an active listener for sure.
Yeah,
exactly. She balances us all out.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. I've never put two and two together because I've always thought that women do need these organizations just to talk it out, to be seen, to be heard, to try to help uplift ourselves in a male-dominated industry. But I've never put that two and two together with like the girls' night out because I will do that and I'm like, oh, it's a girls' weekend, it's a girls' night, and I've just never put that two and two together. So that's really funny. So what do you think are the biggest barriers for women entering trades like HVAC? And how do you think organizations like WHVAC can help break those barriers in addition to having this community?
Yeah, I think some of it is, okay, so like Jenna, you and we didn't grow up in the trades, right? And I'm sure we all were Havok kind of people at some point in our lives, right? But why is that? Well, it's maybe generational a little bit for sure, but it's not something that's talked about a lot. And so like I've been making it a point, like my 3-year-old, she's been to multiple conferences with me already. Like when her and my husband can travel with me, I bring them and, they come and they walk around and see some of the different booths. They meet people I'm working with, they see customers, and she's just starting young. She's understanding what I do and what it means. And so for me, I'm so glad that she'll have that exposure. Not saying anything wrong because I had a great upbringing. My parents are wonderful. It was just very different. And we don't know it exists in middle school. We don't know it's a career path, and it's just not something where girls do it. So there's a lot of things that we could do. Like I have a best friend here in Utah that she is an admin for a high school. And I just told her, I said, when you guys have career days, please invite me. I want to come and I want to talk because what's going to be different is Erica, who is a successful female in HVAC, is going to attract girls more than a middle-aged white man who's successful in HVAC is going to attract girls. Like, if I'm a 13, 14, 15-year-old girl, I'm not going to go talk to that dude standing in a career fair. Like, I wouldn't. I'm not brave enough. I'm not confident enough. Like, but if I see another woman there, I'd be like, what do you do? What does that mean? plumbing, you work in plumbing, what in the world? Like you clean toilets, you know what I mean? Like all of these things that young girls might think, they're much more likely going to talk to another female about it because they're not going to feel dumb.
Yeah.
So I think it's just important that we get out there when we can, like just talk to our local schools where our kids go and be like, hey, can I come to your career day? Can I have a table? And ask our companies, like ask our boss, hey, can I have this afternoon or can I have a couple hours to go do this? Because it's each one of us that is going to make the difference if we do it. And I've heard about this in a way too, like, you know, with all the fires and everything happening in California right now, a lot of people feel helpless. Like, I can't do anything. It's too big of a thing. Like, I'm not a firefighter. I'm not an EMT. I'm not there. And I heard this quote of someone who said, what you could do for one person, then do that. And for me, I think about it on this level, like, what can I do for one person? Well, I could show up for one girl to talk about it, or at church. Like I talked to the youth at my church about it and I'm like, hey, this is what I do. And they're like, you're weird. I'm like, I know, but it's so good. You should think about it. Or, you know, there's so many opportunities in our community that we could talk about girls in the trades.
I 100% agree. And it's like you said, like growing up in high school, like my high school, they used to always do a career fair every year. And it's kind of like an unspoken thing where, because women usually stereotypically don't go into the trades. So it's something that's not even, in my opinion, in teenage girls' radar. So, and then especially, I don't know if we've ever actually had any trades companies at our career fairs, but I was thinking exactly with we used to have the Army come every year, and it would just be these two guys, and they had the pull-up contest and everything, and it would always attract a lot of the teenage boys, but never the teenage girls. But there was one year when they did have a woman come with them, and then the participation in all those like contests that they did, the teenage girls flocked to it. So I think, yeah, you're right. We just need to have some sort of representation to feel secure and comfortable enough to make that step.
That's such a great analogy because it's so true with the Army. You're absolutely right. Like, that is 100% the same thing there with, it's just not representation. But when you think about it, there are actually a lot of women in this industry.
There are, yeah.
There are a lot. We usually think of the numbers as like female technicians, which sure, there's not a lot of female technicians. But there's a lot of women in this industry that work in customer service and the office, work in sales, you know, work in as territory managers, work in financing, work in all the areas that you are all working in. Like there's a lot of women out there. And so we don't have to limit it to, well, you have to go and become NATE certified and be a technician to join the industry. It's, you can, Jasmine, like you said, like you went from one to another and you found different roles as we all have. And that's just where people need to start.
I agree. Yeah. All right. So earlier you mentioned that your mentor helped you gain a board seat for Women in HVACR. As someone deeply involved in both mentorship and leadership roles, how do you approach that leadership and what advice would you give women looking to grow their careers in this industry or in other technical fields?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's actually a lady at Goodleap. She's the executive vice president of talent. And I was listening to a webinar she did last week. And she said that it's very interesting because she has an executive VP role. Like she's top of the top. I'm like, I want to be her. But it's very interesting where she said that when people reach out to her for like help or advice to move up in executive roles, they're always men. She's like, I never really see women asking me for help in that kind of a space. And I was like, really? I would think because you're a woman, but it's almost like you get to be that high executive. There's not necessarily as many women in executive positions like that. And so I reached out to her and I was like, can you help me just navigate what I need to do to get to the next level, whatever that looks like for me? I don't necessarily need to become VP at Goodleap, but for Erica, like, where am I going to be next just to be a better person? And I think we have to remember, like, ask for help. So if you see somebody that you're like, hey, you have a board position, I would love to serve. I would love to do this. How do I get involved? And that's what they did. They said, well, you can help here, or help here, help here. And, you know, start getting involved and meet people and do the things. And that's exactly what I did. But I had someone that I asked for help and they said yes, and they helped me through it. And so I find myself in another position in life all the time, like, let me ask for help. Like, I want to do this. I want to get better. I have a skill set, but I need the right direction. Right. And we just have to remember that as women, like, ask each other for help and then actually help somebody through it. Right. And don't just leave them hanging. And so, as a mentor or mentee, that's what that is. You guys know, like, being a mentee is asking for help, asking for growth opportunities. And I think that it's something that sometimes we feel a bit scared in because it's vulnerable, but I think it's okay to say, no, I want to be more. And it's okay to want to be more in life. But in order to do that, you often need other people. So ask for help. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. And that is something that I struggled with when I first started my professional career after college. I was terrified to ask for help, and I think maybe a couple of years ago, I finally had the confidence to take that direction and ask for guidance. So definitely great advice.
In the wise words of Phil Collins, in learning you will teach, and in teaching you will learn. My son's obsessed with Tarzan right now, so I just had to throw it in.
No, I love that. Let's talk Tarzan, please.
Yes. Tarzan has some big grown-up themes in it, and I love it, and I'm here for it. And like, it still makes me cry as a 35-year-old woman. And he loves it, and he's only 2.5, so just saying.
I like, speaking of Tarzan though, I remember when one of the old Tarzans came out, probably 8-10 years ago or something. There was another Tarzan movie that came out. I remember I went and saw it in the theater with my dad and with my husband, and I walked out of the movie theater. I was in the parking lot and I was like, I'm going to do a Tarzan call. And I just went, oh, right. And I did it in the parking lot, and it actually like came out really good. And ever since then, I perfected this Tarzan call. Like, if I ever feel like a lot of pressure, I'm mad, I need to yell or scream, like, I'll just belt Tarzan out. And so it's one of the things I tell people, like, you need to find your inner Tarzan, right? Like, you need to find that inner voice where it's like, you can get out the noise, get out the whatever feeling it is, because it is such a release. And so, yes, Tarzan does have a lot of lessons to it. I mean, that's not a direct lesson and an indirect lesson, but it is empowering. Like, find your voice, find what your Tarzan call is. And
naturally, I'm going to ask you to please do the Tarzan call.
I probably would break a microphone if I did it this close, because I have a microphone right here. I promise I will do it for you. And I will do it for anyone, probably not on this recording though, because it would like shun people. So they're all over YouTube though.
Wait.
So
okay.
I don't have a really good transition out of Tarzan, so I guess I'll just ask. In addition to everything that you do with Good Leap and everything that you've done with women and HVACR, you also run the CSR Academy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know very much about it. Could you tell me all about it and tell me about like why you started it and what your philosophy is?
Yeah, for sure. So, for several years, I've had my own company, which is called OMSI, actually, and something where it's my customer service program. And really the bread and butter of it is, when you think about your customer experience, I like to think of it a little scientifically, like the DNA. What is your customer experience DNA? What is the genetic code that needs to go into creating a great experience? And so we built our program around that. And so my husband actually runs the majority of all that, just because I have my main focus on Good Leap. And he does an amazing job with, doing call recordings and scorecards and trainings and all of the fun things. And I love when I get the opportunity to do some training as well. And last year, Angie Snow and Michelle Myers and we came together, and they also have their own coaching and training businesses. And we decided to come together and bring our programs and create the CSR Academy, which is where we take all these little pieces and we bring our expertise together, and we do CSR conferences. And we invite CSRs, managers, whoever it is, to come in person, because there's not really CSR conferences out there. There's a lot of trainings for technicians, and you can get CSR trainers in your office for sure, but there's not like a designated conference for it. And so we decided to put all of ours together and create a 2-day conference for it. And it's absolutely phenomenal. We love working together. They're such amazing women, and we all have great content. Like, we have really good things that when we put it all together, it really enhances the role of a CSR, and it empowers CSRs to really have tools that they need. And so I'm very passionate about CSRs and customer service. Like, it breaks my heart sometimes when the CSRs get the leftover banana cream filled donuts after a technician training. You know what I mean? I'm just like, ew, the banana ones? Like, come on. Like, give me at least a maple here, but all the good ones are gone. And it's like, no, that part of a business is so powerful, so important. And I think up until kind of recently, often overlooked, because a lot of places would say, well, how hard is it to answer the phone? How hard can it be? And it's like, actually, there's a lot of strategy, like thinking of the DNA of this genetic code. There's a lot that goes into making it awesome. There's a lot of tools that you need to have to manage different objections, to de-escalate the callers, to schedule or just work with people. It's so much emotional labor that it is hard to do all day, every day, hundreds of calls all the time. And so I just love to have that emphasis on how important that role is, and make sure to invest in that department for sure.
Oh yeah. I think it's a huge role. It's like the first impression of our company in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Banana filled donuts really kills me.
It's the truth though. I've seen it
too. So what do you think some common obstacles are that you see like your CSRs facing, or even other women in like sales or leadership?
Yeah, that's a great one. So for CSRs particularly, I think that what happens is a lot of times we have our team leads or our managers who are supposed to work and train us. However, they get bogged down with a lot of other tasks as well. And there's often not as much time dedicated to that one-on-one coaching and training, just because, once again, like, managers also have a ton of other things to do in addition to, well, let me listen to all of your phone calls for one, and then let me train you on your phone calls. Have you guys ever sat on server side and pulled up 10 phone calls and listened to them from beginning to end? It takes a long time. Yeah. Okay, Jenna, it does. You're sitting there listening. Okay, did they hit this KPI? Did they do this? What did they miss here? Did they book it? Did they not? Did they put the effort into it? And then you got to do the next one, because one phone call is not just like going to tell you the overall picture. And that is the hardest thing, I think, for managers to do. Most of the time they are female managers that, are over a CSR team, but to sit down and listen to the phone calls so that you know exactly what to train each person on. Yeah, you might be doing one-on-ones and everything, but it is like, especially if you have a big team like I know you guys have, that is a full-time job just to listen to the calls, let alone train everybody on it. And so that's one of the reasons why my husband actually developed the scorecard, where he's like, I'll do all the listening for you. Like, our team, they listen, they'll jump in, they pull the calls, they listen, they grade them accordingly, they send them to the trainers. And then we have the train the trainer program, which is we train you, we give you the calls, now you take it and train your team. And it has changed the game for these female leaders who, once again, Jaslyn, it's like, I don't ask for help because we have this like, well, if I can't do it all, then I'm not showing up and people are going to look at me like I'm not doing enough. And like, women, we just have that kind of thing, right? Like, we have to be the superwoman all the time. I get it. I'm the same way. And so this is geared to help those leaders and managers have that thing at least off of their plate so that they can show up and be that awesome trainer, be that awesome leader, and really take their team, instead of just being bogged down all the time by all the little things and not seeing a big advancement in the departments. I don't know if that answers your question exactly, Caitlin, but it's one of those things that we have tried to do to support specifically female leaders because of that exact reason. Is it's just, you have a lot of tasks. We have a never-ending to-do list, and it's just one more thing. So
Yeah, everybody's busy. It's hard. But I think that's good advice, and really nice that you put so much effort into like training and your training program.
Yeah. Before we switch gears, I did have a question. Because it sounds like with OMSI, you said that you have a team that listens to all of the phone calls for your clients. That is a lot of an effort to put into it. And with the world a little bit last year coming into this year, transitioning everything to AI, is that something that do you think could be integrated with your processes now? Or because I know like CSR, like phone calls and customer service, it's so personable that you kind of have to like have a person sit there and listen to it. Do you agree, or do you think AI could potentially play a role in CSR coaching in the future?
yeah, the AI topic is always fun to see, like, where is this going to play a role in everything, right? And AI can do a lot of fancy things, that's for sure. And it's cool, it's nice, it's efficient. One thing that AI will never be able to do, like, even if I said, okay, AI robot, I want you to listen to this phone call and make sure that they hit these kind of things, right? You could tell an AI bot exactly what to do. One thing that an AI robot can never do is grade effort. And I think that for CSRs in particularly, I mean, I have trained people before where they give it their all. Like, they use every tool in their tool belt. They hustle, they're positive, they do everything, they use the right words. And your customer's still like, I hate you, and they hang up the phone, right? And an AI robot would probably say, oh, you didn't book the call. You get a dock on your points. Whereas if I'm listening to that, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, you did everything. Like, and you did it right. And you hustled and you
Mhm.
worked for it. And when all is said and done, you fought for the customer. AI will never be able to tell that. And so, sure, there's going to be some basic things like, did you book a phone call? Did you offer value? Did you do these things? But also, when you think about AI as well, like, AI can never be empathetic. You would have to
Mhm.
tell AI exactly what you can say and not say for empathy. And then
Yeah.
it would only be specifically looking for those exact word for word phrases versus did I connect with that customer, right? Did we laugh? Did we tell a joke? Did we find some commonality? Did we build rapport? Like, AI won't be able to do that. It's only going to be able to grade, did you say this or not say this? So there's a place for it for sure, but not to the level that I think what the team does of listening for those type of things.
That makes sense, yeah. Because, like you said, AI, like they can read the transcript for those key phrases, but they can't really listen to the tone of the phone call.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like the tone, like you're never going to be able to say, well, did you have enthusiasm and were you bubbly?
Yeah.
It can't do that. So yeah. But that's a really great question. And I think that maybe there could be some things eventually that grow into that, but it's not human.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to keep that aspect of customer service in there for sure.
Yeah, I think anything that's not human, as perfect as it tries to be, it can't because it won't have a heart. And like I feel like at the end of the day, your heart will get you everywhere, like in every aspect of your life. Like if we have one thing in common, everyone has a heart. And it's just what you choose to do with it. So it's kind of like what you were saying earlier, like be a good chapter in someone's book, like have a good heart, and that's all we can do.
Love that.
Yeah. And I know we were kind of like touching on the subject a little bit, but so for future goals, I know we kind of talked a little bit about AI stuff, but what about like your own future goals? Because I know you just stepped down from the board, so that was a 5 year. So I guess like within the next 5 years, do you have any future goals that you know of, like any resolutions that you set for yourself, either personally or professionally? More sores, perhaps.
Oh yes, that's always a go. Okay, well, I'm gonna say mine, but I want all of you to share yours too, because when I
Okay.
hear other people's goals and things, it empowers me so much. I'm like, oh, that's such a good idea. Oh my gosh, I want to do that too. Like it does inspire me. So I want you guys to say yours. But there's a couple of things that I really want to make happen this year. I'm big in like positive affirmations, manifesting, like having abundance into my life. And I really want to be on a TEDx Salt Lake City stage this year. Like I want to give my TEDx talk. And they accept hundreds of applications and they pick 10. Like it's hard to get it. But man, am I putting that out there into the universe? Like I want to do it for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons, I feel like every goal you need to have a why for it. I have a couple of whys for that. Selfishly, I want to do it just to say I've done it. Like for me, just to have that feeling of like, I did a TED talk. Like that is an accomplishment, like, because I just want to have that for me, for my heart, as you said, Tina, like that's for my heart. But also because I want to be able to like have my daughter be like, yeah, my mom was on stage. Like I could do that too. And I want to do it because I think that there's certain things that I've been through in my life that could help other people. You know, I just beat cancer. You know, I had a lot of change happen in the last few years. You know, motherhood, whatever all the things are, like there's going to be something for somebody. And every single one of us here on this call have that for somebody. Like we all have a message. And I just want to be able to put that out into the world, and whoever needs to find it can find it. So that's a big one. And in addition to the TED Talk, I have been working on my book. It's been years in the making, and I actually wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning every Tuesday to work on it for an hour with an accountability partner. And she's also writing a book. And so we're working on our book, and we just sit there on Zoom with each other, and half the time it's quiet, but sometimes we need to ask each other something or a question or what do you think about this? And it's just having that body double, you know? So those are two of my big ones that I want to have happen for this year. And if not this year, then I'm going to try them again next year. So anyway, Tina, what are yours?
Yes, I'm obsessed with that. First of all, congratulations. And I'm so happy to hear that you beat cancer. I mean, just one more thing, check, right? Like, that's amazing.
I guess I got to check that on my list.
You got to check that, and let's never return to it again. That's enough.
Don't go back.
Yeah. And then for your book, before I get to mine, what kind of book are you writing?
So the book that I am focusing on right now is specifically going to be about just maintaining positivity in the struggle and being able to appreciate the struggle in life. That there's definitely lessons we can learn for sure when things are good, but we really learn something when we have to like push through it. And this whole idea of resiliency, you know, people not being able to cope with a lot of things, it's changed a lot, you know, and there's a lot of research out there that talks about how it has to do with smartphones and our dependence on social media and all of those things. Like, take what you take, and you can believe what you want to believe with it, but there has been a huge shift in people not being able to cope as well with life's challenges. And I look at, you know, what I went through last year and what I see some of my friends that are also going through cancer still, you know, that some people have had reoccurrence. Like, how are we going to maintain positivity and strength? And like, at least once a week, there's this girl that we went through cancer together, and it came back at stage 4. In less than a year, her cancer came back. And on social media, every week she posts this story as she says, I love cancer and here's why. And for me, that's really hard. Like, I don't love cancer. And for her to even speak those words, let alone in front of her audience, is very powerful. And she'll say, this is why I love cancer today. It's because it gave me another opportunity to crush it. Or I love it today because I get to pull the cancer card if I don't want to do something. Or I love, you know what I mean? And she just, every week she has something new. And I'm like, that's the kind of mentality we've got to have, is when we go through the struggle, we have to keep that, like, it's okay, like, keep the smile on. So the book is actually going to be called Fix Your Face, which is we got to focus on smiling a little bit more and being positive in our lives. So anyway.
I'm obsessed with that for so many reasons. When you get that published, please, please, please share it with us because I would love to read it. And that
You all
actually,
get signed copies.
yes, thank you. And it actually goes a lot with my New Year's resolution because so basically what I'm calling it is I want to be healthy and healthy in mentally, but also healthy physically for my son. So that way I'm around as much as I can be. So as much as what's in my control. And I feel like a lot of it, I have a lot of self-doubt or, I bully myself. Nobody else, but I bully myself and I'm tired of it. And so I'm trying to show him an example of, wow, you can love yourself and be happy and like be good to everybody else around you and it'll come back your way tenfold, So that's like, I need that book when you're ready.
Go mama. This is what we do for our babies, right?
Yes.
I love that, Tina. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else want to share theirs?
I'll share mine. Mine are kind of silly compared to you guys' though.
Lord of the Rings is not silly. Like that
true.
That is
very
hardcore,
true.
so, yeah.
Very true. So I do like little like resolutions here and there of things that like I want to do but just don't have time. So my resolutions this year were to read 84 books. Those included were the Lord of the Rings books and all of, I don't know if you've heard of Brandon Sanderson, but all of his work. I just finished the Mistborn trilogy. Obsessed with it.
Okay. We need to, when we stop recording this, we just have to talk for a couple more minutes.
You have to. I've been trying to get so many people to read it just so I can talk about it.
This is the second time I'm reading Mistborn.
Oh,
It is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful book. Okay.
So good. So yeah, read 84 books, Lord of the Rings, Brandon Sanderson. Maybe if Fix Your Face comes out, I'll read it this year. But I'm adding it to my list on Goodreads, so I won't forget about it.
I love that.
And then I just have like a couple other ones. Like I want to start getting my MBA and start that track. So I signed up for classes that start this semester. I want to start baking more. I want to learn how to play the guitar. And then I want to run a half marathon by the end of the year. So
you go, girl.
those are mine.
Yeah. Those are all so good and well-rounded too. You've got like your health goals, the reading goals. And the thing with reading is no matter what you read, reading's good for you. You know what I mean?
Is.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially Brandon Sanderson. So
Jenna, Caitlin?
I feel like I have one resolution. I'm not
she's
nearly as
focused.
ambitious as you. Yeah. Thank you. But it's one of Jaslyn's list of many. I want to start my MBA.
Oh, so
Nice.
I'm starting my MBA in 2025. I've been talking about it for the past 6 years. One goal, low expectations. 2024 was rough, to be honest. So, yeah, we're going to start off slow for 2025, but that's, yeah.
An MBA is no easy feat. Like that's going to be so good. And you know, what's cool too is like, hey, like that's my focus. That's what I'm going to do and get that process started. And the hard thing is just starting sometimes. And so like the fact that you're even just going to start it, that's a huge step, which is so powerful.
Mine's not really that exciting, I feel like, but I was going to read one more book this year than I did last year. So I want to read 25 books, not 84.
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of awesome because 24 and 24, 25 and 25.
I was pretty excited when it ended up that way.
Yeah.
You're just going to build off of it one a year. That's so easy.
Yeah.
Right. And I also want to go to the gym 10 times a month. So I think if I combine them, then I'll be doing great.
Yeah.
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 So good. Listen to all your books while you're working out. No better thing. So
love an audiobook.
Oh, I love those, you guys. It's so good. I definitely feel like I need more reading in my life because since I became a mom, I'm only audiobooks. And to sit down and read a book has been hard, but there's something powerful about like reading a book. Just like there's something powerful about instead of typing something, you write it down. Like there's just power in certain things that we have that we're able to do with our minds that I love that.
I'm the exact same way. Like I'll listen to an audiobook, but I'll buy the hard copy. And if I get to a part I really like, I'll immediately stop to read it. And then same thing, like I'll write down my notes in like a notebook and then I'll finally like transcribe them like on my computer just because I love physically writing and I love physically reading. It's something about paper, I think. Paper's great.
It really is. There's power in the pen, is how I've heard it
Ooh.
described. And that's why like I'm obsessed with planners and journals and all stuff, just because for me it's just very grounding. I created my own like gratitude journal last year because I was like, I just needed to write down my gratitude practice. Like I just needed to do it every day. And so there's definitely power in all these things that you guys are going to do. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, of course. I need a gratitude journal too. That's another thing. I need to start. I get that. I feel that. So we have a few questions left here. So this is basically like what we ask all of our interviewees. And first of all, we want to ask you, what's the best advice that you have been given and how have you applied it to your life?
You know, when I saw this question, I got stumped. I was like, what is the best piece of advice?
It's tough.
It is, because, you know, when I think about advice, I try to think of a moment where there was something very impactful that somebody said, you know, whether it was directly to me or not. So I'm going to go, there's so many ways that I could go with this, but I'm going to go a spiritual route just because I am a very spiritual person. Like that is a very foundational part of who I am. And spirituality looks different for everybody, and that's fine. You know, some people it's church, some people it's meditation and yoga, some people it's, you know, whatever it is. And so for me, I've heard this in scriptures. It says, for God, like I believe in Jesus Christ. So it says, if you keep my commandments, you'll prosper in the land. And that for me, like I read that every week. I hear that every single week. And for me, it's like, if I keep those commandments that I feel like I need to in my life, like I will be able to prosper. I will be able to be successful. I will be able to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. Doesn't mean there won't be hardships. Doesn't mean that there'll be speed bumps. Doesn't mean that those things, but whatever it is, like there will be something that I can prosper at in my life that I will be able to learn and overcome and, you know, just be better from. And so sometimes that doesn't mean more money. That doesn't mean a bigger house. Sometimes it's just like cancer taught me like how I feel I prospered in cancer. One of the ways was I feel like I had more empathy for people that go through hard things. And I feel like I thought I had that before, but I didn't have that really in the sense that I have it now. And so for me, I just think of that idea of prospering. Like, what do I need to do to live in alignment with what I believe and, you know, prosper? So for me, that's a very powerful thing that I live by.
No, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautifully said. I actually love how that also kind of like intertwines with what the next question was. So as we conclude here, what we have been doing, this is like brand new, is we've been asking all of our interviewees to leave a question for the next interviewee. So the last question we had was from Kim from Good Leap. So now she is asking you, she didn't know it was going to be you, but she is asking you, what do you do to maintain a work-life balance?
Oh my goodness, that one's hard. That I feel like that's one of my other things I'm going for this year is to be very intentional about is I feel like there's no way to have balance because there's always something that's going to take a little bit higher priority than something else, always. Like going through cancer, my number one priority was my health, which meant that it was very hard because my number one priority is to be a mom. But I couldn't show up as a good mom because I was so sick. And so there wasn't a balance, but there was a blend, right? I had something that had a little bit higher of a focus. Even though being a mom and being present for my baby, I did that as much and as best as I possibly could. And I found different things that I could do with her. Like, we definitely watched a little bit more TV, but I got a recliner that we both fit in, and we would just watch movies together. So we had to
Love
sit
that.
by each other, we had to snuggle. So I still got to be a mom. I let her sleep with me because I let her be next to me so that we could have some of that connection if I was gone or something like that for chemo. And so for me, there's going to be another time in life where maybe my business or my job has to take a little bit higher priority than other things, because you're always trying to blend what needs to be taken care of the most at any given time. And so I know we all do the best job that we possibly can. And so one of the ways that helped me figure out how am I going to do that for this year is, have you guys ever picked like a word for the year? Like, what's my 2025 word?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I took that kind of idea of what's my word for 2025, and I thought of it as a way of how do I want to feel in 2025? And my word is going to be based off of how I want to feel. And so I picked the word fun. Like, I just want to feel like I'm having fun with everything, because I've been in survival mode for a while. I just had a baby. Like, you're totally in survival mode when you have a kid. Like, you're just trying to get by, right? Right after that, like, I got cancer. I was just in survival mode. Now I'm out of that. And now it's like, I'm ready to just have fun. And so everything I'm doing, whether it's work, whether it's church, whether it's family, whether it's travel, whether it's whatever I'm reading, I'm just going to make sure I'm having fun and doing some things just for the sake of having fun doing them. So like hiking or reading, like things that are just enjoyable, doing that. And so I feel like for me, that's really helping me right now with having a balance or a blend is focusing on the fun parts. So
That's such a great way to put it. And it's actually really good advice I think we could all learn from, to be honest.
I like that work-life blend. I've never heard that before. I really, really like that, because I will say, like, sometimes with like work-life balance, like I will feel guilty if I do log on the weekends, because I'm like, oh, this isn't a work-life balance. But if it's like a work-life blend, I think that puts like a positive connotation towards it.
yeah. And that I think it's okay if we needed to do something on the weekend. It doesn't have to be every weekend, but if there was one weekend where it's like, hey, I just got to get something done real quick, let's do it.
Yeah. And then it's kind of funny that you were just speaking of what your word is for 2025. Well, look how powerful it was just changing one word in work-life blend, not work-life balance, and not feeling guilty about it. And I know all about the mom guilt, so I love that. So Erica, this has been really awesome and fun, and I'm glad yours was fun and as well. I loved learning all about your Lord of the Rings. You are writing a book, and Fix Your Faith is that's like what I say to people all the time. So that's just amazing that that's the title. So I want to ask you now, what question will you have for our future interviewee that we can ask them in their podcast?
I think I'm going to go off of that. Like, what's your word for 2025? Like, what is that word? And, let it inspire some other people. Well, thank you so much, though, ladies. This has been so fun. And I just admire all of you so much. Your goals, your hopes, your dreams, your work ethic, like the things that you're doing to grow personally and professionally. Like, you can see it's evident just in the things that you say and how you do and how you're showing up today. Like, it's so awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. At this point, do you have anything to shout out that you want to get the word out about? Any social media handles, things like that?
Sure, we'll shout some out here. I can connect with anyone on LinkedIn. I love to be on LinkedIn, and so if anyone wants to chat about anything, feel free to DM me. But I also have a weekly newsletter that I send out of a weekly blog just about my life. It's called The Moral of the Story. And basically, I just take a lesson of something that happened, just a random moment in life, and I try to find what it taught me. It's been very cool. Once again, going back to the power in the pen, of very cool to see how much we can learn when we look for it. And Phil Collins's quote again, right? Like, I love that. And so I decided to write things out. Like, what am I learning? How am I growing? And so if anyone wanted to subscribe to that, I can send you the link if you are interested in getting just a weekly moral of the story. And maybe it will relate, maybe it won't, but it's really fun for me to do that.
Thanks again for joining us, Erica. This has been great.
Thank you. Appreciate it, ladies. You're wonderful. Appreciate you guys so much. And we'll be in touch.